Yeah. Yeah. Yo. 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 The noise started buzzing when the broadcast cracked open. Voices throwing stones from behind glowing screens. Thinking the echo chamber made them giants, but I stepped through the signal like a blade through static. Calm in the middle of the storm they manufactured. Everybody loud when the algorithm feeds them courage. Everybody bold when the comments start marching. But the difference between chatter and impact is the weight of a sentence when it lands like iron. I don't swing for applause, I swing because the system keeps talking like truth is something they can trademark. You built a throne out of trend and reactions. I built momentum out of pressure and silence. Every bar like a crowbar, prying open the hinges of narratives webbed shut by repetition. Now listen closely, the industry loves predictable chaos. 1,000 voices screaming at shadows, while the real architects move quietly upstairs. So when the static clears and the signal stabilizes, suddenly the room feels smaller, because clarity does that. People who spent years throwing labels around start realizing labels don't stop impact. They just make weak arguments feel organized. I don't chase headlines. Headlines chase whatever shakes the room hardest, and the room is shaking now. Not because somebody shouted louder than the rest, but because the rhythm of the words started landing like clockwork against the walls of denial. You can measure influence in streams and charts, but pressure is measured in how fast the conversation changes when someone refuses to follow the script. That's the difference. Noise fades, precision echoes, and when the echo comes back sharper than the original voice, the signal flips. Suddenly the critics sound unsure. Suddenly the commentary slows down. Suddenly the same crowd that laughed yesterday starts listening a little closer today. Not admiration, recognition. Cause when the static war ends, the only thing left standing is the signal that never needed permission to broadcast. Then the second wave hits the room like pressure cracking concrete foundations, because once the first signal disrupts the broadcast, the quiet observer starts stepping forward from the shadows. Suddenly the conversation shifts from noise to examination, from blind reaction to careful listening. And the same critics who once laughed start realizing the structure that's built on repetition rather than substance. The system loves comfort. Comfort means predictable arguments, predictable outrage, predictable applause. Everyone playing their role in the theater where the outcome never truly changes, but disruption breaks rhythm. Disruption forces people to reconsider the ground they thought was solid beneath their feet. That's where the backlash forms. Voices appear from every direction trying to drown the signal to gain. Commentators throwing labels like smoke grenades, hoping confusion will bury the impact before the words have time to set them. They analyze tone instead of meaning, personality instead of message, because attacking the messenger is always easier than dismantling the argument. But pressure exposes weakness. The more they talk, the clearer the pattern becomes. Every counterattack repeating the same defensive language. Every broadcast echoing the same rehearsed reactions. It begins to feel less like criticism and more like choreography, a synchronized attempt to push the narrative back into familiar territory. Only the ground already moved. Once listeners recognize how influence travels through repetition, they start noticing the cracks everywhere. Headlines feel engineered, debates sound scripted. The illusion of spontaneous consensus collapses the moment people see the machinery that built it. That realization spreads quietly. One conversation turns into 10 conversations turn into hundreds. Each person adding their own perspective to a signal that was supposed to fade. Instead it grows louder, because truth carries weight when it lands without permission. It doesn't need approval from institutions that benefit from silence. It moves through the crowd like electricity through a wire, connecting minds that once believed they were the only ones questioning the broadcast. And that's when the real shift begins. The critics lose control of the narrative. Their voices still exist, still loud, still confident, but the certainty behind them starts slipping. Listeners no longer accept statements automatically. They compare, they analyze, they push back. The conversation becomes unpredictable. For a system built on controlling perception, unpredictability is the most dangerous element of all. Once the audience stops following the script, the entire stage starts shaking. That's the moment the signal transforms from a disruption into a movement. Not chaos, awareness, and awareness travels far.